I'm Mike Rogers from the Mike Rogers Show, and today is part of a three-part series of an interview with famous American writer David Nathan Weiss. David Nathan Weiss has written so many really famous animations. He did Shrek 2, Smurfs 2, Smurfs, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Rugrats in Paris, Rugrats movie, etc., etc. He's also won a Primetime Emmy and has won two other prestigious awards. And he was my friend in high school, so like 44 years ago. And he's still my friend. So we're going to part one, interview with David Weiss. And I'm Mike Rogers, and I'm here in the studio with a very, very special guest, Mr. David Nathan Weiss. Yay! So, David, can you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, I am your secret elf from 19. I don't go back. This is people can't count this far.
No.
1975.
75.
Secret Santas or something. You left hot chocolate in my locker in high school, and you didn't know that I didn't use that locker because I had a friend who was letting me use a locker that was closer to the classes. So when I finally checked that locker about 2 weeks later, it was just solid ants. I'd open the door and like a suitcase full of ants just fell out, just everywhere.
Serious?
Yeah, that happened.
I don't remember doing that.
Well, we're so hot chocolate.
So tell us, tell us what you do. What do you do?
What do? I am a friend of yours from high school. I grew up in Ventura, California. I always liked putting on a show.
Yes.
And I like spirituality. So I pursued faith and religion and show business my whole life and wound up, thank God, with a really fun career in Hollywood, writing movies. I started my career actually in Dublin, Ireland with a movie called All Dogs Go to Heaven, working with the amazing Don Bluth and his partners Gary Goldman and John Pomeroy, who had done The Secret of NIMH as an animated film, famous animated film, That Secret of NIMH. And so I did this film for MGM, All Dogs Go to Heaven. That was the beginning of my writing career. Went to USC Film School before that. And then sort of just keep hacking away at building a career. And now I'm here in Ireland. I'm here in Japan. It's a bit of a different place here. Tokyo, Ireland is a different place than
That's really good, though. You say that you followed religion and spirituality and show business, because you definitely need to pray a lot to be successful in show business, right?
That's for sure. I mean, you don't need to. I know a lot of people who don't, but I think you stay more sane if you have some sort of a spiritual foundation. It doesn't have to be religion, but something bigger than your career. Because if you don't have something going bigger in your life than your career, I think it's very hard to stay serene or happy or fulfilled. And there's a lot of wreckage along the side of the road of people who probably needed a little more solid spiritual foundation. Anyway, and so now I'm here in Tokyo, and I'm pursuing a lifelong dream. I always wanted, after film school, I always liked the idea of directing a movie. And most of my career has been writing. So the idea of transitioning to directing, and I'm here, thank God, I'm working for this beautiful animation studio called 10 Animation Magic, which is in a partnership with the amazing and world famous Toei Animation Studios. And they are our prime benefactor over there at 10 Animation, run by a company, run by a fellow who owns a company called Sola. The fellow's name is Joseph Chow, and he's an amazing producer. He's doing Lord of the Rings right now for Warner Brothers, the animated Lord of the Rings for Warner Brothers. And he just did the Blade Runner animated series that I think is on Crunchyroll and some of the big streaming channel in the States. And it was like on the top 10 list. It's been a huge hit. And so he's just a phenomenal producer. And I have the great pleasure of working with him. And he brought me over to direct this beautiful animated film.
Okay, so wait, I want to talk about that, but let's go back to the start.
Okay.
Tell the audience where you and I went to high school. And of course, since you're the guest here, let's talk about me. And then you can tell the listeners what little you knew about me in high school.
Okay,
and about yourself.
So going back to high school, we went to high school together. I don't even know if you were there you were there all 3 years, weren't you?
Yeah,
yes. The one place you finally settled down for a minute and a half with all your military family moving around everywhere. You say it was military and your dad kept getting transferred, but what I heard was that you just got kicked out of every school you went to. So your dad pretended to be in the military. So anyway, we met at Buena High School in a little sleepy beach town called Ventura, California, which is about an hour and a half north of Los Angeles on the beach. Beautiful little town. It's a beach town that was, when we were growing up, was primarily oil and orchards. It was lemon and orange groves everywhere.
Everywhere.
A few oil rigs, and some people used to jokingly refer to it as Oklahoma by the sea. But it had a really wonderful kind of, down home quality of small town. When we moved there, as I was a little kid, there were only 40,000 people in that town. Now I think they're up to probably a couple 100,000, maybe 250,000 or something.
Really?
It's gotten much bigger. Maybe it's 180,000. I don't know. But still beautiful, still sleepy. So we went to high school there. I don't remember how we met. Were we in? You didn't do band, did you? Or choir or anything, right? And you weren't in leadership.
Me in leadership? No, I was just a geek. And
yeah, but I was also a geek.
I was president of the science club and just did things like that and had no friends.
I don't remember how we met because I knew your brother better because we were the same age. Your brother and I were the same age. And we weren't that really friends, and then somehow we met.
Well, neither am I. I'm not friends with my brothers either.
I'm sorry to hear that. Family can be tough. It's a shame when it goes away. But it may have been, I had that little electric cart that I was driving around the campus.
Didn't we do something? I'm thinking that I used to be a biology lab assistant. I never had to take science classes.
Oh,
so I would
were you
sit in the back in the back room and torture cockroaches and silverfish, and then the students would come up to the window for petri dishes and stuff. I think that's where we met.
That could be it. Who was the science teacher? There was a guy.
Mr. Holtz.
Yeah. Was he a thin?
Yeah.
Thin, black-haired, thin guy. Yeah, he was great. He made me write a paper because I was screwing around in class. I never took anything seriously back then, or now really. And I got in trouble, and he made me write a 500-word report on, and he said mitosis. And I remember I wrote the paper, and I said, he said, "You want me to write a report on mitosis?" And I started it, and I said, "I'm supposed to write a 500-word essay on mitosis. I can't find any mitosis to write on, so I'm going to write my report on paper, and I'm going to write it about my toesies." So I wrote a 500-word essay about my toes, and just made jokes about my feet for 500 words. And he wasn't thrilled, but he was amused, so he let that go. And then I got extra credit points in that class because I brought they wanted more dead animals to stuff and to look at and stuff.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I would stuff the dead animals and put the frogs in formaldehyde and store them, and then I don't know what kind of bizarre experiments they did with them after that. But that's what I did.
I found a dead seagull on the road by the beach, and I put it in a plastic bag and brought it home, and I put it in the freezer, and then I poured it out onto his desk, and it just went thunk because it was just ice.
Yeah.
Thunk. And I said, "Cold duck." And back then, cold duck was a drink, I think. A sweet, champagne-y sort of thing. And I got extra credit points for the dead bird. I think that was it. I think you were the science guy. So we became friendly. I probably drove you around a little bit in my electric cart, and then you gave me driving lessons in your beautiful little Opal. I'm gonna say it was a green Opal.
Yeah, green Opal.
It was a stick shift, and I learned how to drive a standard transmission. You showed me how to use the clutch and everything.
Yes.
And then you also introduced me to the music of Queen. You were into music. You were ahead of your time because none of us were that sophisticated. And you were already spotting like the hot new musical trends. And you said, you got to hear this group Queen. And I think you were the first person ever to play Bohemian Rhapsody for me.
Oh, really?
And
I can't stand that band now.
Now, but at the time you were totally into them. And you played I Want to Ride My Bicycle for me. And also, I think you maybe introduced me to Dr. Demento.
Oh, yeah, definitely Dr. Demento. That was it. But back to Mr. Holtz. He was such a nice guy.
Super nice guy.
And he became the principal at a different school a couple of years after we left there. And
I loved him.
That's
what
the
was
last.
His first name? Do you remember his first name?
Mr. Holtz. What was his first name? I
Mr.
don't remember.
Mr. Of course.
Mr. Yes.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
I used to like sit in the back there, and I had like hydrochloric acid, and I'd put it in a big beaker, and there were just cockroaches and silverfish everywhere in that back. It was kind of disgusting. So I would just catch them and put them on the side of the glass, and they would slide down and then hit the hydrochloric acid and run back up to the top and then slide down. And one day I was doing that, and all of a sudden a slap comes on my shoulder, and he goes, "Mr. Rogers, someday you'll know there's a difference between doing science and playing science." And he just turned around and walked off.
Wow.
He didn't.
Words that probably changed your life. Changed the course of your.
I think so, because I've never forgotten that, and I kind of thought, you're not pissed off at me or anything like that, because he was probably thinking like, yeah, I did the same thing too.
He was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was good, and it was good that I learned how to drive. With you, that was a great thing, and then you graduated. I think I was still there a couple more years after you.
Yeah, you graduated 1 year after me.
1 or 2. What year did you graduate?
75.
I graduated 77.
Oh, 77. Oh, so
like
that's
a
why
month
you
older
were
brother.
such a little punk.
I was tiny, brother. I was.
Yeah,
tiny.
you were tiny. So wait.
I was 5'1". I don't know what that is in centimeters. We'll check it out here for people. I was 5'1", and I weighed 79 pounds at the end of my 10th grade year at Buena.
Wow.
How many centimeters is 5'1" inches?
Dun 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 dun.
It says here that it's 154 centimeters.
That's very short, Dave. Oh yeah, and so when you came to Japan, I go to meet you. I think at Okudayama Station. I think it was.
Sounds right.
You walked out of the station, and you were like 4 or 5 inches taller than me, and I'm 100.
I'm not that much taller than you. I'm 6 foot now, so you're.
Okay, well, so it just seemed that, but
I grew 11 inches since you'd seen me last.
Wow. Okay, so wait, so now you're in Japan, and you're directing an animation for a subsidiary of Toei.
Yeah, and I'm having such a good time. We have such a great crew. Story is really fun. My bosses are cool, and they just really have a sense of letting us pursue a really big vision.
Well, before that, tell me about your impression of Japan. Aren't you glad to be out of that plate full of crazy people? I don't want to say anything bad about Americans or America, but that place has gone crazy, I think.
It's funny. I don't know how many Americans would agree with you if they came here and could look back at America. I was not comfortable with the direction America's been going, just the whole extremes going on there. And we said we weren't going to get too much into politics, so I don't want to go too far down that road. But I read a great quote yesterday in a book I'm reading, this Herman Wouk's War and Remembrance. A wonderful book. And at one point, a guy is explaining to a girl's brother. He loves this girl's brother and he wants to marry her, but he's still married. He's getting divorced. And the guy says, "Are you serious?" The brother says, "Are you serious about, marrying my sister? Are you going to leave your wife?" And he says, "My wife is an unhappy and unlucky and unfortunate. My wife is a unhappy, unfortunate woman, and I will not say anything else bad about her." And then he proceeded to say nice things about that other one. Well, that's how I feel about America right now.
Oh,
My country is an unhappy and unfortunate country at the moment. I have hopes that she'll turn around, but it's been crazy over there. And I'm so glad to be here. I wouldn't have thought that I wouldn't go back. I never would have thought that. But it is interesting now that I'm here. I'm not in a hurry to go back. I hope things settle down a little bit more.
Well, David, maybe I phrased the question badly. I didn't mean for you to talk about America. I meant for you to talk about your impressions of Japan.
Yeah. So, but let me just say about America that I love my country, and I'm so proud of coming from there, and especially my childhood, and it's amazing. But now that said, just I hope people start speaking to each other in a more civil way across the aisle. That said, and I could do without cancel culture. I just think we need to be a little more tolerant, let people say their views and not cancel each other. But that said, that's all my political statements. That said, I love Japan. It's so fun to be here, and I love it because it's just spotless. It's safe. It's very civil. People speak to each other very respectfully. People bow to each other when they're saying hello and goodbye. And look, that all may just be beyond the surface. For all I know, they just hate me. There is a history of not being super tolerant and patient with foreigners and the gaijin, as they say. I hear that, but they don't tell me that. They don't show me that. They treat me with a great deal of respect and kindness. And even if that's on the surface, that goes a long way. We could use a little more surface kindness.
Well, I think the Japanese, they can tell, like, okay, this person's trying to understand Japanese culture and stuff like that. So, well, let's get, let him slide, whatever.
Yeah.
Be
Look,
nice.
every country's got its secret drawbacks, and I know that Japan is it's no nirvana here. It's not heaven, but for the foreigner who's here to visit, if you're set up well and you have a nice place to stay, it's like living in Disneyland. It's just safe and pleasant and clean and fun and lovely and very civil, very polite.
Yeah. And there's lots of cute girls going happy and like, right?
The people dress nicely and respectfully here. The people they take a lot of pride in their appearance. It seems like, my experience with the women here has been that they're just incredibly elegant and modest, and they dress beautifully and seem to take a great deal of care with. And there's not an ostentatiousness. I mean, certainly you can go to neighborhoods where it's electrical and everybody's dressed like an anime, character.
Yeah.
So you can find that. But just the people I see on the street are dressed very respectfully and elegantly and beautifully. And it's just, I'm having a good time. It's just a nice break from, and by the way, I love working at the work I do, and I love my career in Hollywood. I've had a wonderful run there, and the people there have been very good to me. So we got to be careful. It's easy to, look at the grass, and I heard somebody say something funny about the grass being greener. There's a bunch of those, I think the last one was, because you're not on the other side messing it up. The grass is greener, because you're not over there messing it up.
Well, so when you first told me that you were moving to Japan, I was ambivalent about it because I kind of thought, like, God, I don't want any more Americans coming here. I hear. But I think even still now with the COVID thing, the Japanese government is not allowing tourists to come to Japan. I mean, they allow tourists to come if they're in a tour group, like 50 people. But who wants to do that?
You have to be on a bus. The bus has to be, filtered, and you can also now you can come for work. If you can get a visa for work, and you can come as a student. I think they're making that easier. And also now they just recently, a couple months ago, opened it up for family. I'm kind of hopeful I can get my daughter over for a visit.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I think she's starting to get serious about taking a break from work and coming to see me. Spend a couple weeks and show her this beautiful place.
Oh, well, she'll just want to hang around Harajuku and Shibuya the whole time. So you just take her there. There's a coffee shop at the corner. Okay, I'll be here. Come back in 2 hours or whatever, and she'd just go crazy.
It's so fun. It's like a huge Disneyland Main Street. It's like 100 groves. fancy shopping mall in the States. I feel like in Japan, there's a Times Square on every corner. You know?
Oh.
And some of them are bigger than Times Square, and all of them are cleaner and safer. You know.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very safe here, basically, except in Shinjuku Kabukicho.
Okay, I won't go there.
Yeah, don't go there. I mean, it's still safer than like LA, but yeah, that's where like all the Yakuza and people like that hang out.
Yeah, I don't need that. I did go to the Shinjuku. I went to the Park Hyatt there where they filmed a lot of Lost in Translation.
Yes.
And that bar up there is so beautiful, and it was just fun to be. And I'm a typical tourist, so I found a way to sit kind of near where Bill Murray sat in a couple of the famous shots, and I actually got a cool picture. I wasn't able. There were people in his seat, and so I had to kind of fake the angles, but I got it to where you could go, hey, that's the same place. And I kind of struck his pose at the bar, and I flipped back and forth on my phone and did a screen record. So there's a thing where he and I slowly, and then we're the same guy for a moment.
So this is what you do at work? You're doing this kind of stuff at work?
That was after work.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've got Mr. David Weiss, famous animator. He's now directing an animation for a Toei subsidiary. What's the name of the company again?
10 Animation Magic.
10 Animation Magic.
Affiliated with Solar Digital Arts.
Wow. Okay. So we'll be back tomorrow talking to him. And I'd like to talk about the animations he's made up till now, because he has made a lot of really famous animations that you know. And we'll be back here tomorrow with Mr. David Weiss on the Mike Rogers Show. See you next time. Bye.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Ohayou gozaimasu. And matane and jane.
Wow, that was an interview with David Weiss, famous Hollywood writer. And we're going to continue with part 2 and part 3 in the next day. And also, don't forget to check out the Mike Rogers Show. The link is down here. And listen to my show and check it out.